The most dangerous moment in your life is not when everything falls apart. It's when your emotions rise higher than your principles. If you can't stay calm, you can't stay in control. And if you can't stay in control, success will never trust you. The most powerful person in any room is the one who refuses to be moved by chaos. They don't need to raise their voice to raise the temperature. Their presence speaks before their mouth ever opens. That's because calm is not just a mood. Calm is the language of power. Power doesn't shout, it doesn't tremble, it doesn't panic when the storm rolls in. Real power speaks fluently in calm. It handles disrespect without breaking character. It answers problems without matching their energy. And it stands its ground when everything else is shaking. Most people think strength is in noise, aggression, reaction. But true strength is in stillness. The ability to stay composed when everyone else loses their head is what separates kings from crowds, leaders from followers, legacy builders from the emotionally broke. Calm is not passive, it is a weapon. The lion doesn't roar unless it's necessary. It's not that the lion isn't capable of rage, it's that it understands its power. When you know what you carry, you don't have to constantly prove it. Calm is the posture of those who are confident in their identity. They don't flinch at criticism because they've already validated themselves. They don't need to argue to win because their life is evidence enough. The challenge is that most people have been trained to react instead of respond. From childhood, we've been conditioned to defend our ego, to fire back when offended, to rush decisions when under pressure. But all of that is noise. And noise kills clarity. When you live in reaction mode, you are always dancing to someone else's tune. They press your buttons and you perform. That's not power. That's being a puppet. But calm people, they cut the strings. They don't let external circumstances dictate internal peace. They lead from within. People confuse calm with being soft. But the strongest trees aren't the ones that grow fastest. They're the ones with the deepest roots. Calm is rooted. It's anchored. It doesn't run from pressure. It absorbs it and turns it into strategy. When you're calm, you don't just survive the storm. You learn how to move through it with purpose. You pick your battles. You protect your energy. You conserve your focus for what truly matters. In business, the calmest person usually wins. While others panic over market changes, client problems, or daily stress, the one who remains calm can see opportunities hiding beneath the noise. They can listen better, think longer, and lead smarter. Clients trust them, teams rally around them, because calm is contagious. When you bring calm energy into a space, you give people permission to breathe, to believe, to build. And the more composed you are, the more people trust that you know what you're doing, even when you don't have all the answers yet. In relationships, calm is the bridge between conflict and connection. When your partner is yelling, the most powerful thing you can do is not match that volume. When your friend is spiraling, your calm voice can be the anchor that brings them back. You don't have to dominate to lead. Sometimes being the thermostat instead of the thermometer changes the entire atmosphere. Calm makes you a safe space, and when people feel safe, they open up, they follow, they grow. Now here's the truth. You cannot fake calm for long. Eventually, the real you leaks out. If your calm is just surface, level, just an image you put on when people are watching, it will break the moment pressure hits. Real calm is built through discipline. It's the fruit of inner work, meditation, reflection, faith, knowing who you are and who you're not, knowing what matters and what doesn't. You build calm by confronting your triggers before they control your life. The people who win long term are not the most talented. They are the most emotionally intelligent. They've learned how to sit in discomfort without exploding. They've learned how to breathe before they speak. They've learned how to choose response over reaction. Because every time you react in emotion, you give your power away. You teach people how to control you. But when you stay calm, you reverse that. You take the power back. You show that your peace is not negotiable. You will face moments where everything inside you wants to scream, panic, quit, or fight. That's the moment that defines you, not the applause, not the success, not the easy days, but the storm. When it hits, the question isn't how loud can you be. The real question is, how calm can you stay? Because calm is the language of power. And if you can speak it fluently, you'll never have to beg for influence, respect, or success. They'll come find you. Before you ever earn your first dollar, build your first business, or break into your big moment, there's a currency more valuable than money: emotional control. Because if you can't manage your emotions, you'll sabotage every opportunity that's supposed to elevate your life. Emotional control is the first wealth, because without it, no other wealth can last. The truth is, your emotions are always either costing you or multiplying you. When you let anger speak, when you let fear make decisions, when you let anxiety lead, you write invisible checks that your future has to cash. Every outburst, every panic-driven choice, every fear-based hesitation is a withdrawal. And if you keep making those withdrawals, eventually your potential goes bankrupt. That's why emotional control is not optional. It's foundational. It's the vault that holds your clarity, your discipline, your consistency. It's the structure that keeps your dreams from collapsing under pressure. Most people lose not because they don't know what to do, but because they can't hold themselves together long enough to do it. You can't build anything long-term when your mood changes with the weather. Emotional stability is wealth preservation. Think about it. How many relationships have been destroyed, not because of deep betrayal, but because one or both people couldn't control their tempers? How many businesses have crashed because a leader made impulsive decisions out of panic? How many gifted individuals stay stuck because fear whispers not yet, and they keep listening? You don't need more motivation. You need more self-mastery. Your emotions are real, but they're not always right. They scream at you to protect yourself, to fight back, to shut down, to stay safe. But what feels safe often becomes a cage, and what feels good in the moment can wreck the long game. Every powerful person learns this. You cannot live based on how you feel. You must lead yourself from principle, not emotion, because feelings are like waves. They rise, they crash, and they change every hour. But principles are anchors, and when your emotions go wild, only principles can hold you steady. Wealth doesn't begin with a bank account. It begins with a mindset. If your mind is poor, your decisions will be poor. And the richest people in the world, the ones who stay wealthy, they don't just have assets. They have internal regulation. They don't just know how to invest money. They know how to protect their peace. They don't panic when things go sideways. They pivot. They don't let rejection shake their identity. They've done the inner work. This is what emotional control gives you: space, the space to think before you speak, the space to walk away before you explode, the space to pause and ask, what outcome do I want? Instead of how do I feel right now? That space is where wisdom lives. That space is where leaders are made. That space is where the immature fall and the mature rise. The person who can stay grounded under pressure becomes the most trusted in the room, and trust is wealth. Opportunities flow to the emotionally stable. Why? Because people don't just hire talent, they hire temperament. They don't just follow boldness, they follow balance. If people don't know which version of you they're going to get, calm or chaotic, patient or panicked, they'll stop depending on you. And once people stop depending on you, the doors start closing. But when you master your emotions, you start attracting what matches that mastery. You start moving different. You stop reacting to every opinion, every disappointment, every delay. You start responding with strategy, with poise, with long-term vision. You become untouchable, not because problems stop coming, but because you stop crumbling when they do. There's a level of success that talent alone won't unlock. There's a level of leadership that knowledge alone won't sustain. You need internal mastery. You need discipline over your energy. You need the ability to feel everything and still choose wisely. Emotional control doesn't mean you become numb. It means you become wise enough not to be ruled by temporary emotion in pursuit of permanent purpose. Your legacy is not built in the moments when everything's going right. It's built in the moments when everything inside you wants to snap, but you choose strength instead. It's built when you want to quit, but you stay the course. When you want to fight, but you walk away. When you want to shout, but you speak life. Those are the moments that define wealthy people, because emotional poverty looks like broken relationships, poor choices, self-sabotage, and chaos. Emotional wealth looks like resilience, clarity, trust, peace, and progress. So before you chase the next paycheck, the next investment, the next applause, build this first: the ability to command your emotions instead of being commanded by them. That's the first wealth, and once you have it, everything else starts following. In a world that constantly screams, "Go faster," there is a rare power in stillness. While most people chase noise, movement, and momentum, the ones who win long-term are the ones who know when to pause. Stillness is not inactivity. It is not weakness. It is not laziness. Stillness is the deliberate space you give your mind to hear clearly, see fully, and move precisely. Stillness gives you strategy. If you're always running, reacting, and responding, you are living from pressure, not from purpose. You're making decisions based on urgency, not alignment. And when you live that way, you'll eventually end up somewhere you never intended to be. Because movement without direction is the fastest way to failure. But when you embrace stillness, when you learn how to sit in silence, pull back from the crowd, and turn down the volume of the world, you create room for clarity. And clarity births strategy. The world celebrates hustle, grind, and action, but there's a level of wisdom that doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing nothing for a moment. The greatest breakthroughs often come in the quiet. Strategy visits those who are still enough to receive it, because the mind needs space to organize thoughts, weigh consequences, and align decisions with vision. When your life is filled with noise, there is no room for divine insight, creative solutions, or long-term vision. But in the stillness, ideas begin to surface that chaos would have buried. Stillness is what separates instinct from intention. Without stillness, you will always act on what you feel in the moment. But stillness allows you to examine that feeling, question its root, and choose your response with maturity. It makes you a better leader, a wiser investor, a stronger communicator. It keeps you from swinging wildly between extremes. It teaches you the power of measured moves, and in that, you develop the kind of discipline that outlasts hype, outperforms speed, and outmaneuvers pressure. People assume that success is about speed, but the most strategic people in history weren't the ones who moved first. They were the ones who moved right. They knew when to wait, when to strike, and when to walk away. They understood that every move has a cost, and they refuse to waste energy on reactions that produce no return. That kind of restraint only comes from stillness. You see, stillness is not the absence of power, it's the concentration of it. A calm mind can outthink a chaotic one. A focused spirit can detect threats, read motives, and anticipate moves. Stillness sharpens your instincts and protects your time. It keeps you from being manipulated by urgency or distracted by nonsense. It allows you to discern who belongs in your circle and who's simply loud. It exposes what's urgent but not important, and it strengthens your ability to operate from vision, not just volume. Stillness also gives your soul space to speak, because sometimes the strategy you need is not found on a whiteboard. It's found in your spirit. But most people are so busy moving that they never sit long enough to hear what their inner wisdom is trying to say. They numb the signals, they outrun the truth, they drown it in productivity, and that's why they keep hitting walls. But if you would just pause, breathe, and quiet the noise around you, you would see the door you've been trying to kick open was never locked. It just required a different key. You don't need more advice. You need space. You don't need to work harder. You need to work wiser. You don't need more opinions. You need more silence so you can finally hear your own. Stillness is the place where wisdom speaks. It's where your future self meets your present mind. It's where you stop chasing and start aligning. The world will try to make you believe that every delay is a setback, that if you're not moving, you're losing. But that's not truth. That's fear disguised as urgency. Real success is not just about the moves you make. It's about the wisdom behind those moves. And that wisdom can only be accessed when you allow stillness to take its place in your process. Every giant step is preceded by a moment of stillness. A breath, a decision, a turning point. So don't fear the pause. Embrace it, because inside that pause is where your next level is hiding, not in the noise, not in the rush, but in the stillness that gives birth to strategy. Pressure has a way of exposing everything. It reveals what's real and what's fake, what's strong and what's fragile. Most people run from pressure because they think it's trying to break them, but pressure doesn't come to destroy you. It comes to reveal you. Pressure is a test, not a threat, and if you shift your mindset, you'll stop fearing it and start using it. The problem isn't the pressure. The problem is what you believe about it. When you see pressure as a punishment, you resist it. You panic. You shrink. But when you understand it as preparation, everything changes. You embrace it. You learn from it. You let it shape you. Because pressure is proof that something is being formed. Diamonds aren't born in comfort. Strength doesn't show up in silence. Pressure is the classroom where greatness gets trained. Pressure reveals your habits. It magnifies your patterns. It brings to light what you've been hiding in the dark. When things are easy, you can fake discipline. You can pretend to be focused. But when the heat turns up, when deadlines close in, when life hits hard, when the stakes get high, that's when the real you shows up. And that's not a punishment, that's a gift, because once you see who you really are under pressure, you know what needs to grow. Pressure also teaches you to prioritize. When you're under pressure, the unnecessary becomes obvious. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop wasting time. You start identifying what actually matters. Pressure forces clarity. It makes you sharper. It refines your thinking. It teaches you how to cut through noise and focus on impact. It shows you what's urgent, what's essential, and what needs to go. Most people collapse under pressure because they never trained for it. They waited for life to be gentle. They hoped the path would stay smooth. But success was never promised without storms. You don't get the crown without the crushing. You don't get the reward without the resistance. You don't get authority without adversity. The pressure is part of the process. It's not there to hurt you. It's there to mature you. There's a reason why some people get stronger under stress while others fall apart. It's not about talent. It's about perspective. When you see pressure as a threat, you go into survival mode. But when you see pressure as a test, you lean into growth mode. You don't ask, why is this happening to me? You ask, what is this trying to teach me? That question shifts everything. It opens the door to wisdom. It transforms pain into strategy. Pressure isn't the enemy. It's the mentor you didn't ask for but absolutely need. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't coddle. It doesn't sugarcoat. But it will teach you more in one intense season than comfort could teach you in 10 years. Pressure makes your faith real. It makes your mindset tough. It makes your voice louder, your purpose clearer, and your commitment deeper. It refines you until you're strong enough to carry what you once only dreamed about. Even in leadership, pressure is a filter. It separates those who want the title from those who carry the weight. Anybody can lead when it's easy. Anybody can smile when it's smooth. But pressure shows who has depth, who has vision, who has emotional control. Pressure doesn't just reveal skill, it reveals character. And in the long run, character will sustain what skill cannot. In relationships, pressure will uncover what communication styles you default to, how you handle conflict, how patient or impatient you are. In business, pressure will test your ability to pivot, your adaptability, and your decision-making speed. In life, pressure will test whether you lead yourself with discipline or let emotions take the wheel. In every area, pressure is the doorway to mastery. If you let it be, you've got to decide, will pressure become your excuse or your evidence? Will it be the reason you back down or the reason you break through? Because every level of growth demands a greater level of pressure. You don't build legacy in the light. You build it in the tension. You forge it in fire, and the sooner you stop cursing the pressure and start embracing it, the faster you evolve into the person you were meant to be. So the next time pressure shows up, don't run, don't complain, don't fold, pause, breathe. Remind yourself that pressure is not here to end you. It's here to elevate you. It's a test of your readiness, a test of your structure, a test of your hunger. And if you pass it, it will launch you into rooms you were born for, but never could have handled without that exact pressure. You don't grow in ease, you grow in resistance. So let pressure do its job. Let it stretch you, let it strip the excess, let it expose the weaknesses, because on the other side of pressure is power, and it belongs to those who don't fear the test. They rise and pass it. Urgency is a weapon in the hands of the disciplined. It's what separates the dreamers from the doers, the planners from the producers. But urgency alone is not enough, because when urgency becomes anxiety, your movement turns frantic, your mind becomes scattered, and your actions lose direction. Urgency with anxiety leads to burnout, panic, and sloppy decisions. But urgency without anxiety, that's where power lives. That's where execution happens. That's where you move fast, but with precision. You don't just act. You act on purpose. The world moves fast. Markets change, opportunities disappear, and time doesn't wait. So urgency is necessary. You need urgency to keep you focused. You need it to push past procrastination and disrupt your comfort. But urgency was never meant to be driven by fear. Anxiety tells you you're running out of time. Urgency tells you to honor the time you've been given. Anxiety makes you desperate. Urgency makes you deliberate. Anxiety says, I can't miss this or I'm finished. Urgency says, I must move now because I'm built for more. When anxiety leads, you make poor decisions. You say yes to the wrong things. You operate from survival. Your mind is full, but your spirit is empty. That's why people who move from anxiety burn out. They confuse busy with productive. They chase everything and end up with nothing. But people who move with urgent clarity, they cut through the noise. They know the value of a moment and the cost of delay, but they refuse to let that knowledge create panic. They are calm and calculated. They move quickly, but they don't rush blindly. They execute without emotional chaos. That's the balance most never learn. How to move like it matters, but not panic like it's life or death. How to push forward like the clock is ticking, but stay composed like the outcome is already yours. That balance takes maturity. It takes inner work. It takes trust in your preparation. Most people confuse anxiety for ambition, but true ambition doesn't scream, it executes. Anxiety makes you reactive. Urgency makes you intentional. Anxiety says everything's an emergency. Urgency says, what's my next right move? Living with urgency means you don't wait for the perfect time. You create momentum now. But you don't rush into motion without thought. You know that one clear move is better than 10 panicked ones. You know how to say no, because not everything is mission critical. You don't let fear of missing out force you into decisions that drain your focus. You prioritize, you organize, you protect your peace while you pursue your purpose. This is how successful people build empires, not through chaotic energy, but through calm intensity. They're urgent, yes, but not frantic. They don't waste time, but they also don't lose their mind trying to save it. They don't say yes to everything. They say yes to what aligns. That's how you keep your edge sharp. That's how you keep moving forward without falling apart. It's not just about doing things faster. It's about doing the right things faster. It's about removing hesitation without losing discernment. You can move swiftly and still be spiritual. You can have fire in your eyes and still be grounded in wisdom. That's the sweet spot, moving in purpose without letting the pressure break you, operating in urgency without inviting anxiety. The people who win in life are not the ones who panic under pressure. They're the ones who turn pressure into performance. They see the clock ticking, and instead of folding, they focus. They know that fear is a liar and stress is a thief, and they don't give either of them access. They wake up with intention. They know the day won't wait, but they also know their energy is sacred, so they guard their thoughts, structure their day, and execute with purpose. You don't need to feel frantic to be effective. You don't need to lose sleep to be successful. Urgency isn't about fear, it's about faith. Faith that what you do now matters, that every minute is currency, that what you're building is bigger than what's trying to distract you. You stop hesitating, not because you're afraid of missing out, but because you respect your calling too much to delay it. And when you carry that kind of urgency, steady, focused, unshaken, you become unstoppable. You don't chase every opportunity, but you're ready when the right one shows up. You don't waste your time explaining your moves to people who aren't on your level. You don't let worry rob your ability to execute. You move with force, with peace, with clarity. That's how things get built. That's how legacy is formed. So move with urgency, but not with anxiety. Don't let the pressure make you frantic. Let it make you sharp. Let it make you decisive. Let it wake you up to your potential and drive you to finish what you started. Because urgency without anxiety, that's focus on fire, and that wins. Every time, energy spreads faster than words. The moment you walk into a room, people feel your presence before you say a single thing. That's the invisible power you carry, whether you realize it or not. And that's why calm is not just a personal advantage, it's a transferable force. When you stay calm, others begin to match that energy, but the reverse is also true. When you live in chaos, that chaos leaks onto everyone around you. Calm is contagious, and so is chaos. Leadership isn't always about what you say. Most of it is about what you model. If your spirit is scattered, your team will feel it. If your home is loud with emotional reactivity, your family will mirror it. If your thoughts are stormy, your actions will reflect that inner turbulence. You might be giving instructions, but people are watching your posture. They're watching how you respond to setbacks, how you handle conflict, how you process disappointment. And if what they see is panic, they'll panic too. But if they see poise, they'll borrow that confidence and mirror it back. That's the weight of influence. Your peace becomes the peace of others. Your emotional control sets the tone. People don't rise to your words. They rise to your energy. If your energy says, "We're grounded," they'll believe it. If it says, "We're drowning," they'll prepare for collapse. Your calm is not just for you. It's a gift to everyone connected to you. But it takes discipline to carry calm when the world around you is in chaos. It's easy to match noise with noise. It's tempting to let someone else's storm trigger your own. But if you do that, you become a mirror, not a leader. Anybody can react. Very few people are trained to respond. Calm people don't absorb chaos. They redirect it. They don't meet fire with fire. They bring water. They don't get louder. They get clearer. Chaos multiplies fast because it feeds on emotion. One person's fear becomes another person's doubt. One person's frustration spreads like wildfire. That's why emotionally undisciplined people are so dangerous in high-stakes environments. They amplify stress. They pass on pressure. They create confusion. And confusion always kills momentum. But calm people create stability. They slow things down when everyone else is rushing. They see through the fog. They listen when others yell. And because of that, they make better decisions. They don't just do what feels good in the moment. They do what moves the mission forward. That's why calm isn't a personality trait. It's a leadership skill. It's a decision you make to regulate your internal environment, no matter what the external looks like. You cannot control every situation, but you can always control the tone you bring into it. When you walk into a difficult conversation, your calm can de-escalate tension before a single word is spoken. When your team faces a setback, your composed energy can remind them that it's not the end of the road. When your child is overwhelmed, your presence, not your speech, can help them reset. You don't need all the answers. You just need to be anchored. To become that kind of person, you have to train it. Calm doesn't show up by accident. You practice it by refusing to be moved by temporary emotions. You strengthen it by sitting still when your body wants to explode. You reinforce it by waking up before the world gets loud and getting grounded. Calm people have routines. They have disciplines. They know how to pull away, refocus, and return to center. That's what gives their presence weight. But when you're full of chaos, that's what you spread. You might not realize it, but your stress is leaking into your tone, your posture, your decisions. Your lack of rest becomes someone else's confusion. Your anxiety becomes your team's disorganization. Your fear becomes hesitation. Chaos blinds you to your impact, but calm lets you see clearly who's watching, who's learning, who's being shaped by what you model. You are always teaching people something by the way you live, whether you're parenting, leading, building, or just existing in community. Your energy has impact, and you have to decide which kind of environment you're going to multiply. Are you going to be the spark that spreads panic, or are you going to be the anchor that teaches people how to hold peace? Calm is powerful because it spreads without force. It doesn't need to be explained. It doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be lived. When people encounter it, they know they've found something different. They lean in, they follow, they trust, because in a world full of noise, chaos, and emotional instability, calm becomes the loudest voice in the room. And when you own that, you don't just manage your world, you begin to transform it.